Hi, my name is Lee Hilbert. I'm the network coordinator for the Carolina Textile District. Today we're visiting Tsuga, which is located in Boone, North Carolina. It's a beautiful little mountain town, a lot of college students, and you're going to kind of see a cool mix of employees here in Tsuga focused on outdoor gear. We are also filming this kind of during the COVID-19 crisis, so we'll be having masks. You'll see other people with masks. We'll be keeping distance though while we're doing this, just so you know.
So my name is Jimmy Combs. I'm the founder of Tsuga. Tsuga is based here in Boone, North Carolina. We started in 2009 making one simple product, well, not too simple, but it's a canopy system, a shelter system, and it kind of evolved from there. We began doing utility buckets, bags, storage bags for the locals, for power companies, stuff like that. Then we started doing a lot of custom repair, custom jobs for folks. And then we started getting into more contract cut and sew, and we jumped into the military, helping a friend do military cut and sew. And that's where it kind of launched off for us to do more cut and sew for other companies. And so a year ago, we moved into this place, literally almost a year ago to the date. We were moving the week of the 4th. Into this place. We were down just behind you in the old building in 3,600 square feet, and we moved into this facility. We're getting ready to tour, and it's 10,500, and we filled it up quick.
So I'm curious, Jimmy, just how your background, like how you started this kind of business, like especially outdoor gear. Is that an interest of yours, or where did that come from? It kind of seems like it's a specialty, the outdoor and more like heavy duty things.
I moved up here in 1987 out of college and quickly got into the outdoor industry, climbing, paddling, biking. Started working for a company called Misty Mountain Thread Works. Worked for them for about 6.5 years, and we literally learned how to sew on industrial sewers there, actually in our old shop. That's where Misty was prior to us moving in. So then from there, after I learned that, I was their QA manager for several years. I decided to get out of that business, and I became a sales rep in the outdoor industry and had numerous different companies that I worked for. I had a large territory, and then my final gig was with Black Diamond Equipment, which is a climbing ski company based in Salt Lake City. So I had 13 states that I was traveling, working with clients. I had a bunch of different retailers, and my boy was turning about 10 at the time. I knew I needed to get off the road, so I had to come up with something quick. I loved my job with BD, but I was gone all the time. So that's when I had the idea of this shade system, and that's where Tsuga started, kind of spawned from. It allowed me to be home, but also work for myself because I'd gotten used to working at home by myself, and I really didn't want to go punch the 40-hour clock type scenario. So that's where it started. And then from there, because I knew my background was heavy duty industrial sewing type equipment, that's really what we kind of got into. And so that's what we sew now, is real heavy, more heavy stuff like you'll see as we go around and tour. We went from 3,600 square foot to 10,500 square foot. Jokingly, our kitchen is phenomenal now compared to what we had down there, which was whatever was in front of the microwave, a little space. And that was with 20 people. So it was a little crazy down there, not just in the kitchen, but all over, because we were, all those people and all that machinery was in one space. So we were able to really kind of spread our wings and grow into this space. So we've been here a year to the date. This is our kitchen area. We wanted to make it a fun place to be at, hang at, because everybody eats and wants to hang out. We have parties here, stuff like that. If you follow me, I'll show you kind of go through the tour with you. So down through here is our military, where we do our production. Everything is prepped down at the other end that we'll get to, but we make a product for the military. Can't really go into details on it, but you see around the edges, we've got the box X tackers, we've got the full function machines internally, and so they're cutting and sewing and folding and putting them out the door. And we put about 320 of those out on a weekly basis.
It's pretty cool too. I've been here before when you're doing the spray painting outside.
Yeah, the screen printing.
With the screen printing. Yep. So they do all of that.
Yeah, we turnkey it from cut to print to sew, turnkey it. We don't have to send anything out. So this is Will over here. He's got his music in, so he's not going to hear you. Yeah. Caught off guard. And then Veronica's over in the corner over there. She's probably got her earbuds in too. She's putting box X's on. And then we have Letty, which is Veronica's sister. That's Letty over here folding up. And then we got Becky, and she runs the operation here in the military. She's the supervisor for this. She's the whip cracker. You can't see the whip, but she's got a whip. Yeah, and these people are scared to death of her. So,
yeah, so I think we're gonna just hear some employees at Tsuga, maybe like your history, background, how you got to come here and be sewing.
Well, I spent 13 years working at App, and it was a really high stress job. And I met this girl over here, Letty, and she put me in contact with Jimmy, and I've been here ever since, and I have no stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had you ever done any sewing or industrial work before?
No, not industrial work. I had done some sewing, like hobby-ish type stuff, but I was by no means a seamstress. I just made a pair of pants one time. Yeah.
So when you say you have no stress, I mean, is it part of just the friendliness of the culture here, or just the
Yeah.
workload, or what?
All of it.
It's just
all of it. Yeah, it's like the people are awesome. Jimmy's super good to work for. Yeah, and I just really like my job. And he didn't pay me to say that.
Agrees a palm.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's a great place to work. Yeah, the environment and just the camaraderie that we have here, it's like a family. It's nice. Yeah.
So what are you doing right now? You're on like a heavy, like a walking foot machine?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're making things for the Army here. We're making carrying bags for big tents, and so right now I'm putting on what we call the wings, and it's the final step. Yeah, yeah.
And then it gets thrown in here, huh?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite part. By far.
I could tell.
It's
You
like
tossed
pitching
it in with a bigger.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Letty, how did you start working for Jimmy? I think I've heard that you're one of the oldest employees. Not, you've been working, not oldest, but you've been working with Jimmy the longest.
So I had a friend who worked for Jimmy previously and recommended me. I was working in the hospital and decided to leave to come here. So
Yeah. And so how long have you been with Tsuga?
about 3.5 years now.
Great. And so you do it seems like most of the employees here at Tsuga kind of move around. Are you always at a certain station, or do you move around from place to place depending on what project you guys are working on?
Yeah, I move around quite a bit. I've been here helping in military for about 2 or 3 months now. So, but yeah, everybody kind of gets an opportunity to move around and do something different every once in a while.
And did you have a background in sewing or making things, or?
Yes, I was doing alterations for a couple years, and I guess in about total I've been sewing for about 15 years.
Okay. Had you ever done any of this kind of heavy duty
No.
sewing? So maybe like on a home machine, or?
Yeah. So this was a little bit of a transition.
Yeah. It's a whole different beast.
It is.
What do you love about your job?
The sewing, the environment, everybody here we do everything we can to like work together, and it's almost effortlessly, so everyone gets along, and we just can come in here and get the job done pretty fast. So
Is it cool to know that you're doing something for the Army? I mean, I'm just curious.
yeah, I think that's our contribution. So that's a great feeling, so getting to help out, and made in America. So.
So when you designed, like, what were your ideas? Because you got to build this from scratch and design it how you wanted to, and there's a lot of cool features in here. I mean, it's a big open room, and we'll see the cutting area in just a minute, but even Tony was asking about the lights. They're at this cool angles, and so kind of when you were thinking about this building.
When we were moving in here, obviously we had some time to think about it, and being down there in a confined area, workflow is all crucial. So we wanted this to be a real open air, nice flow where not only walking and stuff flows, but energy flows. So sounds down there travel here, vice versa, and that gets production moving in my mind, because people can see each other. I can wave to someone, wave them down, they can come down. If you look at our sew area, we put in crossroads, so there's no going way down and coming back. There's all these little segments you can run through. And we tried setting the machines up, see how Jesse's moving from one machine to the next. She's got 3 machines at her wheel that she can build. She's on mass today, but when she's building these construction belts, she's over here. So she doesn't have a lot of area that she has to walk to and walk back. So that gets nice and flow. And it kind of comes their station. Jessie sets hers up. She set hers up really nice with shelves. She's got it organized. It's always tidy. She keeps everything kind of, but she knows where everything's at. She could turn the lights off and she could probably sit here and sew. Couldn't you?
That's the test for later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next tour.
So, yeah. So yeah, and then if you notice, all the air and all the power is up in the air. So we ran electrical feed rail up top where all the black lines are going to. And then we invested in a nice airline called Rapid Air, to where we can tie in along that system anywhere and hook air into it. So if we have a machine go down, we kill that machine, but the rest of the system stays moving. If you question about the lights, we ran the lights on a diagonal, and the reason that is it gets rid of shadowing. So lights running to the length of the building, what you start to get is you start to get shadow spots. Diagonal cuts out all that shadow, and if you notice, there's no big shadows going on anywhere in here. And I had a buddy of mine come in and do the light testing to get the right optimal light, where it wasn't a super glare, but it wasn't dark either. So there was a fine line of how many candle lights you want in the lighting. So that's why we put them in at a diagonal, and it gives a really cool effect. Gives it kind of a ceiling type deal, so you don't see the actual roof going up and down. When you look out, your eyes just kind of travel from the lights to lights. So not the quickest to install. Ask my electrician, but it definitely, and now more people that have come in here, other manufacturers, other industries, they see it. Even the electricians, when they saw what we were doing, now they suggest it to other manufacturers to say, put them on a diagonal, because they had never really thought of it. We didn't invent this, other companies were doing it, but more and more people are starting to embrace it. So it's becoming more and more, and so the electricians now will go in and say, hey, do you want them on a diagonal? Because you can go over and check out Jimmy's space and see what's going on. So that's what we did. So we got a nice flow here. We put in extra hot knives so they're not walking all the way back to cut their pieces. They've got a knife right here.
So is that, so just so people that don't know what that is, so what is that? It's a knife for what?
Yep, so it's a hot knife, and what we did is we buy the knife, and it comes with a handle on it, but we take and modify it, and we cut a hole through. So my son came in, he cut a hole through here and through the table, and then he set it up on a pedal here, spring loaded, and put a heavy spring on it. So now your hand's free when you're cutting, so you can cut faster, you can cut more exact, and you keep your hands away from the heat. So that's nice, and we've got another one back there that we cut mainly for production. But this is nice and long, so you can do stuff. We got.
What is a hot knife made to cut? I mean, what
mainly webbings like polyesters, nylon, stuff like that. And what it does is it cauterizes or melts the end, so it doesn't fray out. So you can cut them at a diagonal. Like when Jessie's making belts, she will have to cut some pieces, and she'll cut those pieces down. Or when she sews a product and she finishes that product, there might be a tailing off the end because you want to run something wild. She'll come back and cut and clean that piece off and make the product look better. So
I also have just like your organization system seems really good. So what is, like, things get cut and then they go in the black bins? Or?
Yep. So like this, we built these towers because you can categorize. We used to do another company's product last year, and that was really getting utilized a lot because it had small, medium, large, extra large, and so on, and it had different cut pieces that we were pre-cutting and prepping for Jessie and them to sew up. And so what it makes it nice is it doesn't have any labels on it now, but normally those boxes will have a identification on them. and it just makes it easy to be able to see them, clean up under them. They're not laid out on the tables. They're not taking up table space like this. They're visually being able to see it, and you can just pull it out and go. And so like here, she's got these used for tool belts or tool pouches now. So she's got them all categorized to how she wants them, whether it's foam, fabric, webbing, you name it. And then she's got it all organized through here. Pretty straightforward stuff like this. But you know, we just like keeping a very clean, organized space. It just makes things flow better. It's so crucial. I think it mentally helps people during the day. There's not clutter. You know, when you go into a cluttered house or a cluttered office, it clutters your mind. And I think it's the same thing with the workers. When they come in, their area's clean. There's nothing around them. They're not tripping over wires or cables. It just makes for a better place, which it's all about just having a good state of mind.
Do you guys have a daily cleanup or a sweep, or is that a weekly thing?
Just when we're doing tours.
No, I'm like, it's very tidy right now.
No, I mean, we definitely put some Sunday on this place. But honestly, when I say put some Sunday on it, like we sweep up. There's not a ton of debris, but we just, go around. But for the most part, everybody keeps their areas really clean. Like the military, this section, Jessie keeps her area clean. We don't let it get too dirty. Yeah. It's in the corners where you get dust and some webbing scraps and stuff. And that's when we just say, okay, hey, let's take an hour. But honestly, we can say, let's do put some Sunday on this place is our term. And within an hour or less, this place is just the way you see it. So we never let it never gets out of control. There's a couple areas like back in the very back workstation where machines are being worked on and stuff, and that you gotta have that one space where everything gets thrown, you don't know what the junk drawer, exactly. So that kind of happens back there, but we really try to keep it as organized as we can up here. So, and I think they like it that way. Yep.
Do you guys move around your spaces quite a bit depending on what projects you're doing, or is this space kind of set like it is?
We don't move the machines or the machines stay. We have it when COVID hit, we definitely moved some of the machines around that we're going to be doing mask, and my son reset the machines up to sew that. But for the most part, the people move, the machines don't. And when we moved in here, we had certain companies we were doing stuff for, so we set them up along that way. And then we just got advice like from Jessie and Leaf and people and said, hey, how would you want your station set up? What is the flow for it? So we put, a couple of heavy duty sewers like this. All these are heavy duties. We have moved some of these around since we moved in, but for the most part, they stay pretty stationary unless we just have to move them. So. But since you mentioned it, but how is the working in the COVID-19 situation, how has that affected your workflow or anything you've done? It's definitely slowed us down. As you can see, we got a lot of machines sitting kind of dormant and we move around from thing to thing, but that's starting to pick back up. Definitely, the whole COVID had a scare factor where how do we set this up? How do we set our stations up? So we just practice social distancing. When folks are at their station and they are for sure at least 10 feet apart or more, they can pull their mask off. When they step up from their chair to do anything, bathroom, kitchen, move, whatever it is, their mask goes on. And then anything, if they go to a bathroom, they come out, they clean the bathroom, they clean behind them. They always reverse clean back to their station. End of the day, they clean their station up, they sweep up, and then they do that. So we kind of laxed. We didn't feel like wearing a mask 8 hours a day is healthy because you're recirculating germs as well. But we don't want, but if you're sitting at your station, just doing your thing, then we don't feel like that's crazy, and that's an opportunity to be able to breathe, and as Jessie put it, hydrate, because she found that she wasn't drinking as much water during the day. So that was a good point that I hadn't thought about, because you get your mask on, you may not eat as much, which is probably a good thing, but drinking, you want to be able to stay hydrated. And so if you got your mask on, you just tend not to do it. So we kind of relaxed that. But now things are starting to pop up again. We just had a meeting this morning about that. and we may take another group vote that do we just go back to a mandatory mask all the time. But honestly, I think that it's having the mask on, it just mentally drains you. It just wears people out, and I don't think it's it's healthy in public. I'm totally 100%. You got to wear a mask in public to stop this thing. But in here, when I'm sitting here and there's nobody within 20 feet of me and I'm doing my thing and no one's coming, we don't share stations, you know? And if we do, we clean them real good. Like Jesse's on her stuff all day, every day. She cleans it, but when she gets up, no one's coming and sitting at her machine. But if they were, then it's going to be sterilized. And if there's any question, you sterilize it. So we got spray bottles. Bathrooms are over here, over there, different places. Here's 2 of them.
I mean, I think you're totally following the guidelines.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you want even more so. Than
Yeah.
you should. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly. So, you know, and people seem to be, you know, we're slowly adapting to this, you know, trying to figure out how to make it work. And at first it was just a scare factor of like, everybody's got the cooties and like, we're gonna, you know, what do we do and where do we go? And, you know, clean your grocery bags before you bring them in. And it's just like, the fear can get you sick. And so we just said, look, we're all safe. We're doing our part. If you don't feel good, do not come in. If you don't, I told them all, if they don't feel comfortable coming in, don't come in. You know, if they want to go quarantine for 6 months, go do that. We'll figure it out, you know.
So I see, have you been doing the PPE since the beginning of everything? I see you're doing your own mask, and maybe you could talk a little bit. I know you did some stuff, and maybe you're doing some cutting now for the Carolina Textile District still. Did you shut down at all? You know,
no, we never
hit?
did. Yeah.
Okay.
So as soon as we got the word came down for the COVID shelter in place, non-essential stuff work ends, we quit doing non-essentials. Our DOD stuff we had to keep moving, and then we of course rallied with the Carolina Textile District, which we're a member group of, and we figured out where do we play the best role, what can we do to help out. And we had the big cutter that I'll show you guys here in a little bit, so we were able to cut thousands of these. We were up to about 40,000 masks a week, cutting these masks, getting them out to other manufacturers to build the mask. We were cutting and sewing isolation masks for several weeks there, but we never skipped a beat. No one lost any pay time. They kept their hours. Our profit margins have hurt because we're not making the profit margin like we normally make with our other companies that we do stuff for. But we didn't want to price gouge either and charge a lot for a mask. We wanted to get them out there to the frontline workers as quick as we could. So, you know, a little money is better than no money. Keeping the lights and the doors unlocked was key to us. And my goal is to keep everybody with a paycheck. So no one has left, filed unemployment. No one has chosen to file unemployment with what's going on with unemployment, that what people are getting each week. These folks would rather be here working and making an honest dollar and coming in and getting out and doing things than just sitting at home collecting a paycheck. So we've been blessed that way. And that's the key thing of hiring slow, firing fast, having the right people in place, having good culture, having people that communicate, camaraderie. You know, they all step up to the plate when it's time to step up. And that's what we did here. And you know, I got with Jessie and said, Jessie, take a mask and redesign it and tweak it. And so she spent hours and hours tweaking, going back and forth, and she came up with the mask that's currently in production. And we sell those to just consumers with our brand, and then we do custom. So a company can call and we'll put their custom logo on it and send them out the door for that, so they have more of a uniform look. And the filter, she designed it to where we could install a filter inside the mask. So it's a 2-layer cotton mask with a filter insert with adjustable ear loops. So she's got one on, and she tied it up a little bit different that's more comfortable, so it's not behind the ears. And then this is one of them too that she designed. And so this has got a custom logo on it. This is for my car. So everybody has their little theme thing. I think we've seen a few Steal Your Faces floating around here in places. But yeah, so that's, So with her, you being right there, this is Jessie.
I'm Jessie. I've been working at Tsuga for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I came here with 3 years of full-time sewing experience. So I've been sewing full-time for about 5 years. And when COVID hit, I started making masks at home. And Jimmy really liked them. I was wearing them here and he really liked them. And he asked me to modify the design a little bit so that we could put it in our Eastman system and start manufacturing these masks.
Tell me what your idea was and what you've actually created here.
I actually went on the internet and I tested out about 8 different patterns that I had found on the internet to see which one I might like best, and I didn't fully love any of them. So I ended up combining 3 of them into the mask that we have here. And grab one of these that's completed. It's got this nice curved profile to the front, so your mouth can still move and you can get a little bit of airflow in there. And then they each have this filter pocket, so you can slide a filter in there and get your 3 layers. That's recommended by the CDC, with 2 layers of cotton and the filter inside.
This is really great. And so how many of these have you guys made?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Several hundred.
Yeah.
And we have
thousands.
over 100 on order right now, and orders just keep rolling in.
Yeah.
So, and people order them through your website?
Nope, we haven't. I was going to add them to our website, and I chose not to because we're not really, didn't plan to get into the mask business. We looked at this as short term, and we hope it will be short term. So we don't want to be like we're trying to corner the market in mask sales. So it's word of mouth and talking to people in the community, and if they find us, we make them for them, and we get back to our regularly scheduled business. But I just didn't feel like there's a million people out there trying to make money off the mask, and we're doing it because we happen to be in the field of sewing. So we're helping people, and we're helping us to keep the lights on and keep people paid. But right now we're trying not to put them on our website unless we absolutely have to. But
it's been a really good project to kind of fulfill a local need, local businesses, and kind of keeping the money in the community right now.
Yep. And like she mentioned, she goes home at night and makes more masks. So there's a big need out there, but she's just word of mouth, people contacting her, wanting stuff done. She's not trying to, build a website and like get everybody to, buy a mask. And we've got people coming to us like patenting masks and wanting us to design masks for them, and they're looking at this as this long term. And I'm like, guys, don't think that way. Like. Let's get rid of these masks soon, hopefully they'll be gone in a year. But
Jimmy, is it really cool to know you've got talented enough people to come up with their own designs? And I mean,
it's awesome.
Do you take pride in your people?
I take super pride in my people. Every one of them, I love them all. They're family, and every one of them, they're not just a number or an operator. They are. They're liquid gold. I mean, most of them are cross-trained on everything. Like today, Parker and Leaf began training on the cutter. Jessie can sew anything in this shop. Any of them, the folks down here, the ladies down here, they can sew anything in this shop. They're not just one thing. So total value in these guys, because they're the ones coming to me with ideas or solutions, because they're right in the meat of it. So when they see something that we design over there, they sit down and go, well, maybe we can do it quicker if we do it this, because we've been doing 1,000 of these, and they find a quicker way to do it. But I don't look at them as just a worker. I see them as management down the road as we evolve our company and turn our company into more of an R&D and design firm. These are the folks that are going to now have that 5 years experience to be able to sit down and manage other people, whether it's traveling to other sew facilities, or bringing people in here, but not just, I want to hire you just to sew, turn and burn for the next 8 years. So,
and we feel appreciated too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
All the
Yep.
time.
You'll appreciate it. Huh?
We do.
Oh, yeah.
I think everyone feels appreciated.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, it's key because, I appreciate them, and I think they appreciate what we're doing here help them. We've been doing meals about 3 days a week, and getting restaurants to bring stuff in, and nothing better than food, right? To make people feel good, and especially good food. So we usually have 3 meals a week, and and that's helping them because they save money. They don't go to the grocery store and get exposed. They don't have to plan 3 meals a day, and they can just get up, walk over on the clock, fix their meal, sit down, and not just eat. It's not just burgers and fries. It's like Stick Boy, Reeds. It's like good salads, good meats, good stuff. And so it's an investment. It's not an expense for Tsuga at all. So
we have an annual gathering every year, and last year it was in Boone, and so we brought a lot of people into town, and we went to some of the places that Jimmy was talking about to eat. We were here at Tsuga, and everybody wanted to work at Tsuga.
yeah.
Pretty much by the end of
Yeah,
the
everybody.
2 days.
I was getting applications from everybody.
The
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah, this is a lifestyle.
Yeah. It is. It's what you make it, It really is. It's what you make it. If you got to be here, we're around each other more than we're around our families. Honestly,
Except we live together.
Except they live
and
together.
They spend a lot of time together.
Me and Bar practically live together, so we're a couple. And then, but honestly, if you really start to break it down, in most places people work, they're around their coworkers more than they see their loved ones a lot of time. You better be able to get along good, and be able to communicate
And not
stuff.
dread to go into work every morning.
No doubt.
That's an awful feeling.
It is an awful feeling, and I tell them if the day they want to come up and grab the doorknob and don't want to come to the other side, it's 2 things: time to go or time to sit down and talk to me and figure out how we figure it out. But you're going to have tough days, and you're going to have stressful days, but it's a business. But we got to be in it together to make it work. So, and I think that's why we've grown and what we've got going on here, and I'm able to keep folks here and keep positive people here, and they want to give input and stuff like this. Like Jessie wants to build a good mast for Tsuga. She doesn't have to do that. She can say, I really don't want to do that. I want to sew. Leaf could say, I don't want to learn the cut table. I want to sit here and sew, get my check, and go home. But they don't, because the more they learn, the more value they are. So now we've moved down from the mask and the packs and all that production. What they're doing here is, this is tapestries. And if you're hanging on the wall back here, it's a festival going blanket. So it's got waterproof fabric on the back side and cool prints, multitudes of prints that go on the front side. We bind it, put a pocket on it, put 4 grommets in the corners, and it becomes a tarp for sun or rain, or it's a don't get your butt wet at a music festival. And or dirty. So what they're doing here, these prints specific come in from India. These are silk screened. They lay them out individually. So they lay a layer of waterproof fabric, then they put a print down, and they repeat that 12 to 15 times. And this is a system we came up with compared to the old manufacturer that was literally laying these things up and cutting each individual piece out and trying to line it up and bind it. The way this works is, once they get all this out, they will lay this big jig that's hanging up right here on here, draw it out, they'll come back, weight it, they'll cut out, and it cuts every one of them at one time. Then they come back and they staple the respective pieces together. The 2 pieces, the waterproof and the print, and they repeat that all the way around. So now they can pick that piece up, throw it over there, fold it up, throw it, and it doesn't come separated. Then down the road, the next week, the next day, we can grab them off and they get bound. So from start to finish on one of these, we can land one of these folded in the hopper in 20 minutes. This is a company based in Sugar Grove, which is just a few miles down the road from Boone. And their company's called Tapestries, and we do all their manufacturing for them here in Boone. And then they go to festivals, and they do online sales, stuff like that. So this is Barbara. This is my girl here, Barbara, and she's been here the longest of them all. She's put up with me the longest of any of them. And so she came from a sewing background. She started when she was probably 8 or 9 with her mom sewing upholstery and putting stuff together. And so she can pretty much sew and do all that. And then when she's not got that hat on, she's in the office doing QuickBooks and paperwork and all that stuff. So it's crazy. And then Parker over here came on board. How long have you been here? 3 months? 2 months. Yep, yeah. So Parker graduated from ASU in industrial design, and he came on board, and he's been here, and so he's been over from military to mask, maybe mask, to rogue buckets, to tapestries. But I'll show you some stuff in a minute. He is really good at art. Like, he's really good drawing, pottery, stuff like that. So he'll sit down with us talking about this cross train and people not just being hired to be able to sew. We try to hire people that have other skill sets. And for him, we have this stuff here. These are some images that I go to him and say, hey Parker, I got these ideas for some fold up utility buckets bags. So something like this, he will draw that up by hand.
He creates these illustrations. He's amazing.
Yeah, he can say just this one right here, this one right here. He's probably got an hour in drawing it and coloring it. And that's key for manufacturing, because time is money. I can't have a kid come in and spend 8 hours drawing these up. I need him to draw them up that quick. And so I can literally sit there and do my chicken scratch and say, this is what I'm wanting. And then he says, you mean something like this? And I go, yep, that's it. And so,
I mean, they're so good.
Yeah,
These are good drawings.
He's a great artist.
and I'll show you when we get back
marker
there.
from the back, but from the front, it's like,
Well, I mean, it looks.
They
like,
don't even
it looks
look hand
like
drawn.
fabric the way he's shaded it and everything.
Oh yeah, and he's doing all that like that quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a kid come in to do some work for us last year, and I had him draw up, and he came back and billed me for about 10 hours worth of work, and he didn't even have this much work. And so that's fine, the work was nice, but I couldn't hire him anymore because I can't afford him anymore. It's got to be something that's just a afterthought, and he's able to do that. When we get back to the very back, I remind me to show you a picture that I just had him do for my son's birthday for his truck. My son's way into trucks, into Mopar, and he's got a really nice truck. He'll probably be here by the time we get back there. But when you see his truck and then you see the picture, it will look like you took a picture of the truck and framed it.
So
It
this
looks
is not done with software at all. This is all done by hand.
all by hand. That's what I said.
Yeah.
This is all
You
hand.
can see it's,
I can
it's
see.
a marker.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he shades this in
Unbelievable.
and fades it all in by hand, no computer at all. So, so this area is our R&D and design and development. So Mike's not in today, but he is here predominantly over here. He's got 30 years of cut and sew and design background. And so I was fortunate enough to get him on several years ago. He's been a friend of mine for 30 years. And he had a company over in Valley Cruces that he worked with, and then he sold his part, took a sabbatical, and then I was able to get him on board. This is some of the packs that are coming out for Tsuga. This is going to be a climber's pack, an everyday pack. Really, it's going after arborists, which are guys that climb trees and cut trees and trim trees. And so this is one of Mike's designs that we've worked together on. It's got handles for stacking it in. It's got a handle for carrying. It's got a handle for dumping your stuff out. We've built really nice padding, padding on the waist, a removable lid, zippered lid, some unique fabric that we're using here for the body of it. A couple different colorways. Here's a little bag that he came up with. And see, Mike's the same way as Parker. I can sit down at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning and say, Mike, I got this idea, or I've got an idea for a client. By the end of the day, he will have not a finished product, but he'll have a working product prototype of that in 8 hours, not 40 hours. And most of these kids coming out of school, they know how to design, but they don't know how to design yet. They haven't had the real life experience. Where Mike, when he builds something, the first thing he's thinking about, I've got to have this pack retail at $125. And then he starts to work backwards from there. And so he says, how can I build a pack with the features I want, with the labor? I can only have this many SAMs in it, stitches a minute, in this pack. So if we've got 90 SAMs in this, we know if it's above that, we're gonna have to sell it for $200 and no one's gonna buy this pack. So he looks at it as, how can I build this pack in the States with the materials we have and within this window of labor in order for us to come in at the price point we need to be at. And so that's really, he's good. So something like this, you know, he built this up. This is like a purse, man's purse, everyday purse. Put your Frisbee golf disc in there if you wanted to. It's got a zipper. It's got a little place to put a wallet, a pen, some stash. It's got a key fob thing for clipping your key to it so you don't lose your keys in it. And it just magnetizes together. Nice shoulder strap with a clip. So something simple, ties into our look, the kind of stuff we're trying to do here. And we've got more and more of that stuff, more buckets, utility buckets, stuff coming out. But like we had a bucket that a guy showed us he wanted us to build, and within like 4 hours, Mike walks in, he's like, "Is this what you want?" And it's even better. It's got a draw skirt. And I said, "Yeah, man, awesome. Now we need to flare, like on these, we flare the skirts. Everybody avoids this in packs. They never flare their skirt. We flare ours, so you can do that."
That is so cool.
And it didn't take that much more time, but that right there makes a customer tickled to death. That's when they come back and buy more stuff, because it's the little things that you think of that are so important that, you know, you could have just made it a square skirt and you would never be able to do that. But because this thing flares a little bit, boom, you throw, and it's easier to load your stuff in and out of there. So anyway, so that's key. So we design over here for our stuff, and then we have a whole slew of clients that we R&D and develop for as well. Either from napkin idea to retail, or if they bring it back from Asia and they want to do value engineering, revalue it to get the price down, they'll bring it to us and say, "Hey, can you dumb this thing down a little bit?" Not dumb it down, but simplify it to where we can build it here in the States. So, and that's where we want to be at. That's our ultimate goal, is to be in R&D and development.
You know, it seems like you're doing a lot of your own product, and I think that would be really, you know, good for a company to have their own product as far as profit margin. But if you are going to go with a client, like what makes a good client? What are you looking for? You know, is it about like minimums and maximums, or is it more about the relationship that you can have with the client?
Oh yeah. It I mean, of course you want volume, you know, and all that, but with R&D, you know, there's a window there of how much work you're going to get out of them. But our goal is to help them design, develop it, and then if we quote it to them to manufacture it. So now we get that part of it. If that doesn't work, we can broker it to either people in the States, or if they want to take it offshore, if they've just had us design something that you cannot build stateside. But the most important thing is relationship. Going forward, and it's always been there for me, but now with COVID, it is coming down to relationship. It has been such a revolving door with so many businesses out there, especially in the manufacturing, is that they get a relationship built. There's no transparency built in between those two partners. That one partner feels like they can get a better deal somewhere else, and they cut ties. And then they get out there and find out that they're not getting a better deal. They're getting a better deal because the quality's gone down or something. So now they come back to you, and now you're booked. You can't take them on, but they've burned that bridge. And the key is communication and transparency with these folks, just letting them know where you're at. If you need to show them the numbers, not all your numbers, but show them like, this is what we've got invested. This is what our overhead is. We're not taking you to the cleaners. That's all they want to hear. And if they see that, they know they don't need to go shop around. Making it turnkey. We can design this stuff, we can 3D print, we can hire in people to do electronics if they need something built into it that we don't do. The more we can offer to them, the longer that relationship lasts. And if we can keep a 5-year, 10-year relationship, that's really the ultimate goal. And so relationship is so key. And this day and age with COVID, it really is. It's having transparency and key relationship. So, you know, and they got to behave. You know, I mean, the one thing I love about starting my own company is I don't have to work for assholes. You know, and you can bleep that out, but you don't. But you don't have to, because, you know, they're coming to you wanting a service. They can tell you what they want, but they can also do it in a nice, respectful way. But if they talk down on you, or talk down their nose at you, or don't listen to your feedback, are just difficult. They don't listen to what you're trying to say. We cut them loose. I mean, we'll cut them loose quick, and we have. And it's we just say, look, we're not set up for you guys. You got a lot to learn. You got a lot. We've been trying to help you, talk you off ledges, and you're taking it defensively when we've been here and you've come to us. Trust us. Give us enough rope, to let us kind of hang ourselves and then come at us. But 9 out of 10 times, our clients are tickled with what we do. And what we do best is talk them off ledges, because we've got 30 years of experience. They've got 30 years of experience here. We've got 30 years of experience over there. We're not just telling you this because and if we're talking you off ledges, we're talking you off ledges to save you money, not spend money. If anything, it's like, you don't need this and you don't need this. You want it to sell for 100, but you've got $100 in material. Like, guys, you can't use $50 a yard material on bags and tote bags and stuff like that. Your margin's gone. You've got to compromise somewhere. And if they're willing to listen to that, that's where the relationship really starts to blossom, because they're humble. A lot of them that are getting into this through the CTD, they're startups, they're needing help, they're needing advice, but they're so headstrong on what they want that they're missing the big picture. So
a lot of these tours are for the sewn goods class, and it's these kind of clients that might be potential clients, and we're just kind of, sometimes it's a reality check for them, like we were just talking about, of like what makes a good client. So even design and development, but also for your production, like what kind of timelines do you give people? Like, what are your turnarounds? And knowing that depends on if you're busy or not, but do you guys have like a time frame that you give new clients, both for development and then production?
Right.
What does that look like?
Well, totally. I mean, we definitely give them some timeline. So we have to sit down and get the information that they give us, what they want. And then from there, we decide if it's what kind of time are we going to have in that. So then me and Michael sit down and we'll come up with a guesstimated, we're going to have 10 hours, we're going to have 100 hours in it. Like a pack like this, believe it or not, you can have 100 design hours in it by the time you get it ready to go to production. So that's when people start to realize, wow, this is going to cost a lot to get my business going. And that's when they have that reality check and they come to you with something fancy, and that's when we start to talk them off those ledges. Well, what if you, that's why this pack is so clean and simple. It doesn't have zippers and whistles and bells. It's simple, but it's still going to end up being a $125 pack when we retail it. But it has a nice appeal and people will do it because it hits an emotion. So we do the guesstimated or estimated hours, and then we break down to them what that entails. Building a basic skeleton of the thing, building a second one. That by then we've got the patterns figured out. Then we take the patterns and we start to build the actual bag and use the real products that they want. Then we have sourcing. We have to, if they want us to do all the sourcing, we have to source the buckle they want, the webbing they want, the skirt, you name it, unless we've got it here. And then once that's done, if that could be 100 hours, so that's 2 weeks right there. It may be 100 hours based over a month's time because we've got other clients, so we're picking up and doing a little bit here, doing a little bit with this client, and so on and so on. So we'll give them a guesstimated time. If they're really crunched, if they're a good client, we've got a good client, he comes to us, we build stuff all the time, I'm quick to jump on and help him out because I know he is going to take that product and get it to market really fast. He's not wasting his time, dragging his feet. He loves what we do, and I was on the phone with him earlier, and he said, Jimmy, your stuff is, I tell everybody, when those boys design stuff up there, it's going to the European car market. That's the quality they're putting out. We have to take their product and dumb it down so we can sell it stateside and build it here. So they, it just depends on who you've got. If it's a client that's hemming and hawing, they're not sure what they want, we'll say, look, we're going to get to you in about a month or 2 months, and so it just varies. And then from there, we start, if they want us to do production, after we're done, we'll quote them. And if the price is right, then we'll give them a timeline of when production is going to we're going to be able to fold them in. But most of the time, startups want proof of concept runs, and that's what we want to offer too at a premium. So we'll build you 50 of these, and then we don't hear from them again for months because we're getting them out to beta test and make sure they're working, not working, find the kinks, get them to consumers. Consumers are always going to find the weak points of everything, and then they come back and go, okay, we're ready to go to production on this. And then we either do it or we broker it out. So I'll take it off the mountain to some partners we've got down in Burlington, that area, and say, look, they need 1,000 of these made. Can you make them up? And they'll do them. And then we've got partners, offshore. And we'll say, hey, this is something that, we've got this one product. They need to retail it for $19.95. We can't even touch that. We can't touch that in a million years. But then I got folks in Pakistan that can land that thing here for $2.50. Material, labor, and then add your tariffs on. You got $3 in it. Now they're able to sell this thing and sell it and make their margin, and the retailer make their margin. So it just depends on who the client is. See you, Leaper. Thanks, man. So does that answer it? Yeah. Like gives an idea? Yeah, give an idea of like how we go about it. It just depends on the client and their needs and what they're pushing, and are they ready to spend the money. But we get clients that, it's sad, because we see the look in their face when they realize that they're going to have anywhere from, $10,000 to $15,000 in a product to develop it. And they just never, they're like, why? And I'm like, well, you're hiring us to do something. You're asking people with 30 years experience to develop this thing for you and turnkey it for you. That costs money, I'm sorry, and you got to do your part and market it to recoup your money. That's not our job. That's now your job. And then they don't even have that aspect of their business figured out. So that's the thing with CTD, where they sit down and run them through this course of before they even come to us. When Tanya Brent sends them to us, they've been vetted. Like, where are you at in the stage of this? How serious? What's your money? What's your budget? Is this a part-time job or a full-time job? If they're not fully committed to this thing, then they need to understand that they're in it, and I've seen so many just spend crazy money with us, and a year later there's nothing. They're gone. They've lost interest. The money was coming from family, to keep the kid busy, and we try to talk them off that ledge. We got a client right now that the dad developed a bag 20 years ago, and now the son has pulled it out of the files and has decided to bring it back to life. And that company, he had hired a company in Raleigh to design and do all the tech pack for it, and they sent it to us, and me and Mike were looking at it and we're like, there's a lot going on here, like internal sleeves to put plywood in and padding to make it a hard frame. And I was like, there's a lot of work there. So I get on the horn with him, and he understood, the designer. I said, man, we're gonna have 50 to 100 hours in building you 2 of these samples easily. And I said, I'm sure you get that. He said, yeah, I get it. I said, will your client get it? He said, I don't know, He said, we'll see. But I was like, what's driving them to do this? Is it because it was daddy's idea and the kid wants to bring it back to life? Or is daddy just looking for something for the kid to do, and they're putting all this money in it? Have they got a marketing plan? Do they know who their customer is? And he's like, I don't know if they know any of that. And I'm like, Andrew, you see what I'm seeing? He's like, yeah. And so, we try to tell people before they even start, I don't want to take money out of my pocket, but I don't want to see people lose money either. And we try to, before we get started, are you sure you've got this figured out? Because we can walk away now, and we've talked people off ledges, and I've talked money out of my pocket, but I sleep better at night.
Yeah.
I sleep better at night because I've been there, and I would wish people would have talked me off a ledge on certain things. And, so it's important, quality work, customer service, and just being transparent and sincere with people. And I think that comes back to you because, I don't know, it's just, there's too much of that going on out there in my mind, to people taking advantage of opportunities and just making the money and knowing that it's not going to go anywhere with that client, rather than just telling that client, man, you got a really slim chance of getting this thing to market and getting this thing to sell at that price. A lot of people just won't tell them that, and they need to hear that. They need to hear it. They don't want to hear it, but they need to hear it. And so
think I mean, this is not really a question, it's more of a comment just from also being in the production sewing world. Is like, it's a skilled trade, and you would pay your plumber or your carpenter $150 an hour without even blinking, you know, but as soon as you say it's $75 an hour for development, which is, you know.
They think, well, you're just sitting at a sewing machine with a needle and a thread, and it's like,
no one knows how to do it
come over
anymore.
here and sit down, let's see what you can do, you know, exactly. Yeah. It takes the patience of Job to do what these folks are doing out here 8 hours a day. I mean, go sit at a machine for 8 hours, and so you've done it. I'm glad I'm in the office now. I mean, I did it for years and years, and I love to sit down and tweak and design and come up with stuff. But when I sit down to do help with production, I'm like, man, it's a whole nother beast. So yeah, it's a mad skill, you know.
I think that's part of, you know, the shift for domestic production is like getting back that mindset of like, it's a skilled trade that, I mean, I think back in the day, like lots of people grew up knowing how to sew and learning how to sew, but that's not the case anymore. So it has to be taught, has to be learned, and it has to have value in it for people to want to do it.
Exactly. So they look at it as it was their grandma's job or their granddad's job. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a factory worker, but you got to be pretty skilled. You almost have to have a 4-year degree now to run the machines I'm getting ready to show you skillfully, because you can't just get someone off the street to say, hey, I got a $140,000 machine back here, and I want you to understand all these software programs, cut files, and they're like, oh, well, it's not factory work mentality, is it? It's skilled labor. Okay, so that was the R&D. Now we'll go into the where we cut and prep and store all of our inventory. And it's a little bit louder back here, but that's okay. So we come into this room, and we've got all of our webbings, which is our linears, and all of our fabrics. And then it either gets cut, the webbings get cut on another one of these chop machines here, like that, or an automatic strip cutter. You can load rolls of webbing up. You hit the amount, the dwell time, how many pieces you want, how long you want them, and it just starts chopping it off. It's got an automatic guillotine knife, and it's air pneumatic run, and it chops it off into a bucket. So like with our military, with the thousands of straps we're doing a week, that thing's really handy. And then this is Gary over here. So Gary is a jack of all trades. He came on as an intern a couple years ago, and then he moved to Charlotte, and then I begged and pleaded for him to come back, and finally I got him back up here. And Gary can do anything from run $140,000 cut machines to design 3D models for the 3D printer in the back, like this product that we're developing that's coming out soon, to developing, taking a design that I had and clean it up. He's just got a good mind for that, but he can design in software. What he's working on right now is a cut file for Reborn down in Raleigh, and we do contract cutting for a lot of companies, and so he's figuring out how to nest all that in there and get it all lined up, ready to go, because we're getting ready to start a marathon cut fest for them that came up yesterday.
Oh, that's cool.
So 4th of July holiday break is now not happening. Is it, Gary? It's all gone.
What is this board behind you?
This is a digitizing board. So you take this device here, and say you lay your mask up here in a flat form. You take and you click on the 0, and you can click the little crosshairs here, and you click it, and you click it, and you click into the circle, and then that reads it into the software program on his computer, and then he can go in there and he can clean it up, and then once it's ready, he squirts it over to this computer, and that computer talks to the machine, and it starts, you pull the fabrics out, start cutting it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, what's cool with this software too is that you can do different sizes. So let's say you make a pattern, you know, of the mask, but you want to adjust it, you can adjust it all in the program.
Exactly. So he starts with a medium, and he can knock it down to a small or a large or an extra large. So he's okay mountain biker too.
Hey, how'd you get involved in doing like 3D software and stuff like that?
I was an industrial design major at App State University, and I minored in apparel, so I got into some 2D soft goods modeling there.
And is this pretty interesting for you?
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
How many years you been here?
I've been here 1 year now.
1 year. Wow. And so it kind of fulfilling your dreams as far as this sort of engineering?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's great. It's the right mix of hands-on and getting to model things up, spend some time on the computer.
I was going to ask you, you know, the webbing and stuff, so you probably have certain clients webbing separate. Do you also supply some of that though at cost for a client?
So some clients will send us everything and we'd prefer it that way. If they don't, then we will source it and we stock it and then we do a markup on it. Yeah, we end up marking it up a little bit for our troubles of sourcing it, bringing it in, and tying our money up in the process. But like this is all one client's webbing here.
Yeah.
This was a mixture of, this is all our stuff here. This is one client's back here. You know, Fifth Element Camping down in Asheville that do the Element car, the Honda Elements.
Oh, yeah.
He designed a cool camp system for the back of a Honda Element, like the kitchenette and the beds and closets, like an old Westphalia van.
Yeah.
And so he wanted us to build pads for him. So we designed a pad, and there's 7 pads or 6 pads per system. And these go in there, they Velcro to the bottom, and then we put their logo and our logo. He wants to co-brand them, so, but he's based in Asheville.
Are your logos screen printed?
Heat pressed.
Heat pressed, and you do that here?
Yeah, we do that here. Yeah, we do all that here. So this is all fabric for a company called Parker Medical down in Charlotte that we're doing a product, you know, cutting all that for them. Here's more of those pads.
Looks like it's laser guided or?
Well, it's a gantry on an XY axis. The light just gives you an indicator of where it's at. That helps line up the material when you first start. So it's drilling the hole markers now, indicators, and then it'll cut. It's already done some of the cutting, but this thing is a vacuum. It sucks the fabric down so it won't shift. So it's got a pin on it, a drill, a hollow drill, a drag knife, and 2 different rotary blade sizes. So it'll mark, drill, cut.
So this is one of the most expensive machines, I'm assuming, that you have, right?
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most expensive. And we're looking to get another one.
Are you?
Yeah, and put it down there that maybe does like oscillating and cuts more composites and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this one kind of limited as to like?
Yeah, like the mass that we've been doing for CTD, it doesn't want to cut the fabric right, you know, because it's a softer bed. And oscillating blade like they've got at the Commons, you know, sorry, at Opportunity Threads. So we're getting more and more people wanting cutting. And if we had 2 machines going, we could not work all the time.
Will this machine cut leather?
Yeah.
This one will do leather?
Plastic, it'll cut all kinds of stuff, so.
It's almost impossible to follow it, it's so fast.
It is quick. Now, so we do these buckets for Rogue Fitness, and they're a chalk bucket about this big. I don't know if I've got any around here, and the bottom is about a 15-inch diameter. Before we had this machine, we would spend 8 hours or plus, one person cutting out like 140 to 180 of these. On this machine, we can cut 140, I think is, in 4 minutes. Zip, zip, zip. It goes, and then you just pick it up and go. So you get better yield. You got one person. You don't take the chance to cut your finger off with a handheld, and every bottom is perfect. So when you sew it in, it comes out right. Because you know sewing, if it's off a 1/4 inch in the cut, it's going to be off a 1/2 inch in the sew, to or fro. So more raw materials through here. This is our little device we came up with, double hinge system for silk screening our bodies. So that ink dries in like 5 minutes in the sun. And so we put the ink on there, the whole crew gets out there, they get their music going, they get some good rock and roll or some Michael Jackson, something to dance to, and they literally, in about 30 to 40 minutes, they can print 200 of these bodies and have them assembled and pulled up. I mean, they've got a system. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah, no, I was there one day and they were screen printing.
They're screen printing and they're boogieing and they're walking the stuff out and they're having a good time, so it's awesome. This is kind of an area where we do custom, like one-offs. If someone needs a grill cover repaired, something dirty, we don't want to get it on our main machines. We got a zigzag machine, long arm for like big, cells.
Even your junk drawer looks pretty good though.
What's that? Yeah.
Even your junk drawer looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
I like that tool board.
We try to keep it clean. We got a 3D printer there. We're getting a laser etcher soon for laser etching stuff.
So what are you mostly 3D printing? Hardware?
Stuff for us, like that hook. We'll 3D print for other clients, but mainly for us playing around with stuff. So it's just handy when you need it. You got to have it as it goes to go to somebody. And we literally that 3D printer was $300. The case probably was $500. The guy built that. That was given to us, one of our clients, and this is the thing about relationships. Backpacks for Life, they're awesome folks. We did a lot of pro bono stuff for them, just kind of helping them get going because they're a nonprofit. And one day he was like, man, I want to send you something. And he literally bought that printer and he had this guy build that box, which is heat, thermic, temperature controlled inside, so it pulls the exhaust out. And he sent that down to us, like, thank you, man. And we'll do anything for that guy now, because he understands what we're trying to do for him. Because normally if we charged him for all the design we did, it would be hundreds of hours. And I was like, man, what it is, Backpacks for Life is a backpack design. You sell the pack and the proceeds go to getting vets off the street. And the packs are given to the vets on the street, and it's got a whistle, a locking cable mechanism through it, piping, so you can be seen, and it has a pull-out bed that they can fold out and sleep at night.
It's a really cool design.
They're really cool. So this is my son's area. So my son, he keeps everything going in here. Like, he is the mechanic, the lights, the power, the air. He ran all the air lines through here. Anything electrical, mechanical that goes down, he's on it.
What's his name?
Jadis. Yep, Jadis. And he's here somewhere because his truck's here, so I think he must be up there maybe working on a machine or
you
something.
look like a pretty young guy. How old is Jadis?
He's just turned 23, so.
He's just a brilliant young man.
I would love to do an IQ on him. He never went to college, but the kid can figure out anything, everything. He's just one step ahead. He's just calm, cool about it, and you just give him a problem. We've got contraptions around here how to pull, like when we're doing the mask, for instance. We had that blue fabric. Rather than pay two of my folks to walk and both of them pull the layers down, and then you pull the second layer and the bottom one gets peeled up as you're pulling the second layer, we needed to pull all three at one time. So we were taking 3 layers and gripping them and trying to walk them down. Jadis came up with a device. He built it on casters on wheels on a rod and put rubbery, grippy material on it. Now one person at 10 o'clock at night on second shift can pull this up, wrap the 3 layers of fabric, clip it with some clips, and then it's got a string tied on both ends that come up into a point, and then he's got a long leash on it. You put it at this end, run the leash all the way down under that gantry, and when one person sets it up, they walk back, and when they just pull it, and it pulls those 3 layers out perfect, clean, lined up every time. It works like a champ. So he's always coming up with some kind of contraption. You hear the airline go off. He installed a heater system on our airline. He installed an exhaust that goes off every 45 minutes to get rid of the moisture, so we don't have moisture build up in our systems, so we don't have to crawl up there and undrain them every couple weeks. So the tanks, those things will produce 2 or 3 to 4 cups of water a day in one of those tanks. And if you left it unattended, you'd have that much water in your tank in a month. And so that thing exhausted off. So and a lot of this stuff he's never done, so he's just figuring it out as he goes. Whether he YouTubes it, how to, or he just looks at it. This exhaust here, in the winter we print inside, that military, and we wear respirators. All the staff wears a respirator. Well, it gets really smelly, so we shut the doors. In the summer, that's why we print outside, because it exhausts out. We needed something in here, so he came in, found these online, bought the fans, put it on the door. He goes outside, he opens that door, he hits the go button, he wired it all up. It turns on all those on louvers, and they print right here, and it pulls everything out and across. So that's him. That's my son coming here.
Wow.
But take your mask off for a minute, and you can see that mug.
You're famous.
He's famous.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot more
He
hair.
got a lot of beard there.
Last time I saw him, he said
Yep.
Corona.
You must be a genius.
Corona beard.
This is Jadis. He fixes everything, keeps everything running. I was just telling about some of your contraptions that you've designed and built. So,
Well,
and I was showing him your little work. He got a cool. You saw his aquarium over there.
I didn't go look at it.
Yeah,
but
I want to show you that truck.
Well, and talk about a lost trade and people desperate to find machine mechanics.
Oh, well,
in
see,
the industrial
yeah.
sewing world,
Jada, show us your world over here and tell us about it.
This is all the basic tools for working on machines, building parts, whatnot. Storage for bolts, parts, electrical, anything like that over there. All the smaller machine stuff I keep over here, little nuts, bolts, specifics.
Walk out and look at the truck.
Okay. That's a big old truck, Jadis.
I'm going to get a look shot at your aquarium there since we talked about it. Very cool. All right. So yeah, tell us about your truck.
Oh, this is my baby. I've always been into anything automotive, but
Wow.
mainly Mopar, Chrysler, Ram. So I got this in 2017 and I've done everything to it.
Yeah, professionally lifted.
Yeah. Lift, wheels, tires, lights, tent, exhaust.
This is the picture that I was telling you about that Parker drew in 8 hours for a gift for his birthday. Is what I got him. But if you look at it, it is identical to his truck out there, even down to the bird in the mirror, in the window. I mean,
Unbelievable.
so
That is awesome. That is great.
isn't that cool? So he, about 3 years ago now, I sent him to Chicago to a mechanic school for sewing machines. And he came back with a whole new plan. So now we don't have to bring any mechanics in unless it's just some kind of crazy, we just can't figure out what it is. No way he can figure it out. But a lot of times if he can't figure it out, he can get on the horn with one of these older mechanics that's been around for 40 years and they'll talk him through what to look for and he'll get it running. Sometimes we have to have a mechanic come up, but for the most part, 9 out of 10 times, through a lot of head scratching and mumbling under the breath, it comes together. So
What's it like to work with your dad like this? I mean, is it kind of cool?
Oh, it's great. The freedom, flexibility of it is awesome. And I don't know, just being able to kind of make my own path through it. Like, work into being a mechanic / other stuff has been great.
/ other stuff.
Yeah.
well,
Did you get your brains from your dad or your mom?
I'd say dad. All the technical stuff.
But he's learning the business side of it too. He's as good as he is with mechanics. He's good with numbers and common sense, like logic of like what direction do we need to take the company, and I can knock ideas around to him. And for just being 23, he looks at it at a whole different angle. He's coming at it from a whole different way. He's outside the box, kind of looking in. Even though he's here, he's looking at it like what the trends are, what's happening, and says but he can usually read people really well. We've had people in here that we've hired and I'm on the fence with him, but he knows really quick, like, man, this is not going to work out. And he's seeing red flags and I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. And then sure enough, it's like, there's the red flags. So I listen to what he has to say. So anyway, but yeah. And we get to work together a lot, so it's good. We get to see each other. So,
I mean, one thing you notice about Tsuga in general is that you do have so many young workers, and I think a lot of them end up here from Appalachian State, which is the college that's here in town.
yeah.
But how do you think that affects like your workplace culture, or I don't even know. Like I know that you do have a few older people that were here. I don't know if they still are and just not here today.
Yeah.
But
it's mainly a young crowd now. Sharon that was here retired, so she's out, and so it is. We've predominantly got young, and it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes I go, okay, I'm done. I don't want to hire 4-year college graduates. But honestly, in the end, I think it's the best investment because they're the future of mankind. They're the future of business, and they understand what's going on. Like, and I want them to become part of Tsuga, like more management, trend setting, branding, stuff like that. And if I hire someone that's 50 years old, they're not going to get it as much as these kids are going to get it. They're out there on social media. They're seeing what's happening, what's not happening, what the hipness is and not, and how to kind of steer the company. But also, when you got a kid that's dedicated 4 years of its life and gotten a degree, that tells you something. That tells you that they are committed to making at least that happen. They have the ability to focus for 4 years and get a diploma. Well, then I can bring them in here and I know that they're going to be able to focus. They're going to be self-managing. They're going to be educated enough to understand and learn things quicker. So now my time to train somebody has been cut in half, as opposed to I'm taking someone that's just kind of slow to figure it out. All they want is a paycheck. They don't want to bring any kind of freshness or ideas to the table. I mean, the biggest thing I have is everybody's always coming, hey, let's do this, let's do that. I'm like, calm down, we can't do it all, we can't do it all. But I'd rather have that than have people just like, do we get paid tomorrow? It's 5 o'clock, I'm out of here. They don't think about the company as a whole. When they go out, they're all out talking positive about Tsuga. And they're talking to a lot of people when the bars were open and all that, and that reflects on us. And so I think that it's, sometimes it can be frustrating, but I think it's going to be frustrating, that whole motto, you hire 4 to find the one. Nothing's changed from 50 years ago or 100 years ago. You still got to hire them to find out if they're going to work or not. And, we got a kid in the other day, he worked for about 3 weeks, and there was always excuses and red flags. And great kid, love the guy, but I just said, man, this is not, you're not cut out for it. It's not working, no hard feelings. And we went our separate ways, but hire slow, fire fast. Just try to get the right one in, but if it doesn't work, don't leave them around, because it sends a message to the rest of my crew. If I keep somebody on, it says that I don't have their back. If I get rid of them, it says that I have their back, and I'm not putting up with that elsewhere with them either. Because you can have somebody that's top shelf, awesome worker, can get things done, production, but if they're jerks, they get rid of them. I mean, because they kill the whole morale of everybody else. And then it sends a message that you're just willing to keep a jerk around because you just want to hit your bottom line. When there's plenty of people out there you can find that hit the bottom line and still do it with a smile on their face. The Beckys, the Leafs, the Lettys, and all that stuff. So, I think it's key to invest in them. And we got 20,000 kids over here, and they're all wanting to stay up here because it's such an awesome place to be. Yeah. So we find a lot of good ones, but it's the ones that have not come out with the mentality of like, I should be making 80,000 a year coming out of school, and that's the professor's fault. Mm-hmm. They come out with a realistic goal of like, I'm willing to live in Boone, so I've got to sacrifice, and I can only make so much an hour. Okay, that works for me. Yeah. I didn't want to move to Atlanta anyway and even use my degree. I got a degree because I needed to go off to college and get something. So, a lot of them, everybody in there, I don't know who's in there that doesn't have a 4-year degree besides me and Barbara. Jadis got straight out and he went to the technical school of Tsuga. Technical College Institute, the school of hard, and then, and he came right out of high school putting money in his pocket. Yeah. And now he could go out and make more per hour than those kids with a 4-year degree, because he's got a skill. Yeah. Because Opportunity Threads, Misty Mountain, Trotters, whoever, call him up and say, hey, can you come down and figure out my cutting machine? And he could go down there and fix that and be at 75 to 100 an hour. I mean, that's with almost zero overhead, some tools in his hand, and some gas miles and all that, and that's paid for too. So, I think that it's, technical colleges, they need to make a comeback, so, and maybe that'll happen with sewing, with the sew operations, and people will get into it, but it's a tough one.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for leading
yeah.
this tour. It's so much information. I always love coming to Boone and seeing your facility and your crew, and everybody's just like so positive and kind, and they love what they're doing, and you are an awesome boss. So
Well, I appreciate
we're
it.
super lucky to have you in
Yeah.
the network for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I'm blessed to be part of it, and I'm blessed to have the group we have, and of course CTD it's been phenomenal. It's just, a network of folks there that we can lean on in good times, bad times. We're all in the kind of from that same cloth, and this co-opetition thing is, I think, very healthy, that we're not keeping secrets from each other or working against each other. It's good to healthily work against each other, but also, you're not talking bad about each other or keeping stuff away if it makes sense. Trotter called me the other day. Hey, Jimmy, this is something that I'm just not even, it's not my alley, but the first thing I thought of was you guys. Are you interested? Yeah, send them to us, and boom, we got a client. He could have easily said, I'm not sharing it with nobody because I don't want any competition out there. And so it is. It's we're blessed to have what we have with the CTD, I think.